This is the story of a young man from New Zealand who was so successful at driving cars that he cut short his university studies in engineering, came to Europe to branch out as a professional driver. And in a few short years, he's been so successful as a driver, as a designer, and as a businessman that this little organization here, centered on this small factory at Colnbrook, last year exported racing cars worth $1.25 million. The name, of course, is Bruce McLaren, and he and his fellow New Zealander Denny Hulme drove the McLaren Ford single-seaters to such success last year that they finished second in the World Constructors Formula One Championship against the toughest opposition that the world could produce. But in addition, both Bruce McLaren and Denny Hulme, for the second year running, cleaned up the rich Can-Am series of 6 sports car races in the United States and Canada, collecting about £70,000 in prize money. You may not know much about the Can-Am series, but the way Bruce and Denny play it, it means a lot of dollars for Britain. And now here they are off to a flying start for the new American development, the formula for 5-litre single-seaters, and because of their prestige in the United States, with the racing successes they've had so far, they're already contemplating building 44 of these this year. This is another big dollar deal for Britain. Well, now let's take a look at the 3 McLaren models for 1969. First, the Can-Am sports racing car with the Chevrolet engine at the back. That's to say, it's got a Chevrolet block and crankshaft, otherwise an extremely special car. This cost you about £6,500, but if you want a 7-litre engine giving about 620 horsepower, you can say about £8,000 investment altogether. Even so, about 80 people have found it worthwhile to spend the money. The body, as you can see, is highly streamlined, plus what goes on the back. The air going in through here and out through there, or through the radiator, puts a big downthrust on the nose to keep the front wheels down, and then, of course, there's the aerofoil at the back to keep the rear wheels down. That is the American idea of a sports racing car, but, of course, if you pushed it outside of the door here onto the public highway, you'd collect enough summonses to keep the courts busy for weeks, because it doesn't have things like side lamps and headlamps and tail lamps and indicators and all the other things that the law requires. And it is a pretty heavy investment. And that's one of the things which has led to this development now, which is going to be big in the United States, Formula A for 5-litre production car engines, but single-seaters. Now, you can buy one of these for £4,500 or plus engine, giving about 450 to 500 horsepower, about £6,000. But it does have the advantage that a young driver who's not yet in Grand Prix class can learn to handle real power, and he's got a relatively reliable engine which will do about 2,500 miles of racing before a complete overhaul, which is more than you'll get from a Formula One or Formula 2 engine. Now we come to something really exciting, the first view of the McLaren single-seater Formula One Grand Prix car for 1969. And this is our first sight of a Grand Prix car which is designed for 4-wheel drive. It won't have it at the beginning of the season, but it will have eventually. And that's one of the reasons why the petrol tanks are moved out here into the sponsons between the wheels to make room for the 4-wheel drive shafts and the planetary drive gear inside. As usual, of course, the Formula One engine is hung out on the back from this rear bulkhead, and so is the rear suspension. Well, obviously, Bruce McLaren can't do all the design work while he's travelling around the world by air to the motor races on a timetable with changes of time and temperature that would leave most people prostrate without having to do the motor racing as well. So the McLaren organisation, there are 2 designers, Gordon Coppock and Joe Marquardt. Sometimes they work together on the same car, sometimes they split up the work and work independently. And here's Joe Marquardt to talk about the Formula One car. Now here you've got a sketch of, is this the Formula One car as it's going to appear?
That's what we reckon it will look like, yeah.
So it's not only going to be streamlined in between the wheels, but it's going to have a streamlined nose too?
Yes, we might have some ideas on there as well, yes.
Is it going to be something quite different from anything we've seen in the last few years?
Oh, it will look different, yes, but I'm sure some other people will come up with these sort of things as well to accommodate the fuel.
Now, a great deal of the drag on the present kind of single-seater is from the tyres and not from the body at all, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
How much are you going to cut down the drag by this fairing round the wheels?
Oh, we reckon we cut it down by about 50%.
The total drag? Or the wheel drag?
The wheel drag.
The wheel
yes.
drag. And that's how
we get more drag from the body because the body is wider. So we will lose part of it, but we get also something back. we hope to get more back than we lose.
Are you going to gain any advantage in weight distribution from putting the streamlining on?
Yes, you will see when you put the fuel bags out there, you can go a bit back or forward with your fuel to get what you want as far as weight distribution is concerned.
Will you change the weight distribution much when you go to four-wheel drive?
You will do, because you want to make the front tyres do as much work as possible.
Will you be able to bring the tyre sizes down from these ridiculous wide tyres?
Yes, this is one of the ideas for four-wheel drive, to get a means of putting the power what the engines produce onto the road, and try not only to make the rear wheels doing all the work, but try to get something from the front wheels as well.
You've worked for a number of racing car constructors now. What's the special feature of McLarens? Why are they successful? What makes them different from other racing cars?
I think we find the people who do these cars, they're very good craftsmen. They are really highly specialized people, and they do a very good job. And I think that's one of the most important things. On top of all this, we try to finish the races, so if the cars are good enough. You can't win a race if you don't finish the race, so that must be one of the main things we have got. And you have to be there in time as well.
And this is a very exciting new car, but generally speaking, McLarens have not been wildly different or wildly way out in design. So why do they win?
You will find Bruce has a tendency to make the sensible thing.
He's very conservative, really, isn't he?
Partly he is, yes. But then he pays out, doesn't he?
Motor racing is a precision business and mistakes cost drivers' lives, so Bruce keeps a close watch on what goes on in the machine shop. It's not just making the cars, you then have to go on modifying them, building new and improved parts into them right through the season to keep the cars winning. In export sales earnings, race winnings and support from sponsors, this little factory just off the end of the London airport runways probably earns as many dollars per man as any in the country, and a great deal more than most. Yet they have their problems too. On engines for the Can-Am and Formula A cars, they have to pay import duty of around £350 per engine. They get it back when the complete car is exported, but it means thousands of pounds of capital tied up earning no money, a heavy drain for a small company. And if they should simply start up an engine to test the car before delivering it to an export buyer, then they'd risk losing the import duty. That's the kind of straitjacket that we clamp on our top dollar earners. You have to be flexible in this business. There's Bruce checking over the construction of an aerofoil. That was one of the ideas that came in last season. This season we're going to see more streamlining, we're going to see four-wheel drive. The keynote is flexibility, and every one of the 35 men in this team pulls his weight.
Give Don a call if you get stuck with anything.
Phil Kerr, you're Joint Managing Director of McLaren Racing. How long have you known Bruce?
I've known Bruce now for about 17 years.
That made you how old when you first knew him?
Well, Bruce was 14 and I was 17 when we first met.
If you had to describe him to somebody who doesn't know him, what would you say?
If I had to describe Bruce, I'd say first of all that the main characteristic that you're aware of is his cheerfulness, and secondly his tremendous enthusiasm for any project in which he becomes involved.
He just treats you well and respects your opinion, doesn't try and tell you what to do all the time. He's willing to let you use a bit of initiative and only just guide you if you go a bit wrong. He allows you to be a person and work as a person, as an individual.
I find him a man that I can talk to, I can reason with him about my job, and I think he takes an interest in all of us.
Do you think him being a New Zealander makes any difference?
None whatsoever.
He spends a lot more time on the shop floor than a lot of bosses would. Does this upset people?
No, it doesn't. No. He can show most people to do most things. We'll always improve on his work, naturally, as skilled workers, but he can show anybody how to do anything.